Hi, it's Lisa with Ink and Inspirations. Welcome to the Easter Bunny class for 2023. We are going to be making a slim tint card and a little box/basket. So we're going to start with a card, and I'm showing you the finished one there, and get the 2 3/4 by 5.5 Blackberry Bliss base. And then I have the 2 1/4 by 11 polished pink card and 3 pieces cut at 2 by 5 1/4, a basic white piece that we're going to use for the inside of the card first. I'm stamping a sentiment in Memento Black ink and then going to stamp a little butterfly and color that butterfly with Stampin' blends. So I'm using, I believe that's light polished pink, and then I will do the little spots with dark Daffodil Delight. So this is going to be glued to the top of the inside of the card, and that's so when the card is finished and displayed that you see the beautiful designer paper that we're going to put on the bottom. And this is also cut at 2 by 5 1/4. So let's just put that on the inside with some liquid glue, and then we've got the outside ready, and I'm going to give it a good burnish with the bone folder and put the outside designer paper on, which is also cut at 2 by 5 1/4. And there is the base basically of the card. So I'm just going to adhere that to that piece of Blackberry Bliss and set that aside to dry. Now I have a radiating stitched die that's in the online exclusive currently, and I'm going to stamp the little bunny there and the butterfly in Memento Black ink. So I'm going to also put the sentiment up at the top. It says Happy Easter. And then we're trying to get all of our images there. So I've got a piece of our masking paper. It's sticky on the back. I stamped the same bunny and fussy cut it out. I'm getting some of the stickiness off the back and putting it over the bunny there. And there's our masking paper. It's packaged. I believe there are 8 sheets in the pack. And then I'm going to take the grass and stamp it below the bunny so that it looks like he's sitting in the grass. So to keep the stamped image from going over those faux stitching, I'm covering the stitching up with a Post-it note to mask that off. So now I can take off the bunny mask and I can start coloring with my Stampin' blends. So I'm using light Parakeet Party to do the grass. I'm just easily filling it in and coloring all the way, and then I'm going to fill in that bottom part above that faux stitching, just coloring it with the Parakeet Party to get the green for the grass. Okay, next let's go ahead and do the butterfly again. I'm using the same colors, Daffodil Delight and polished pink, to color the butterfly. And once I'm done with that, I'll be able to color the bunny. So you can choose whatever color you'd like to use on this. I just wanted to kind of go with the colors in the Designer Series paper. Here I've got crumb cake that I'm outlining with, and I want to leave part of the bunny on his chest there and below his mouth white. And so I'm just outlining first. I'm going to leave his tail white too. And then I'm going to fill in with the brush tip and fill him in so he's like a little light brown Easter bunny. So I'm just carefully going around his eyes and doing his paws and filling it in. Just a very simple coloring. I'm not trying to do too much shading. And left that center part white. Okay, so now I wanted a blue sky, and so I've got my Pool Party ink pad. I'm masking that bunny off again, and I'm getting my blending brush and inking it up, just doing the initial brushing on a piece of scrap paper so that it's not a really dark spot of ink on the die cut. And I'm just going around the bunny. I'm not worried too much about the butterfly. I just did not want to get Pool Party over my bunny that I had colored. And so I'm just coloring it in. You can go with as much ink or as little ink as you'd like. but I just thought this would finish it off nicely. And that mask you can save inside of your stamp set to use for a different project. So now all we have to do is put that on the front of our card. And I'm just putting liquid glue down the center and putting that on the front. And you can also use different size labels for these types of cards. Now I have the bow with a glue dot on the back, and that's going to finish the Slim Tint card. Next we have our box, and I have a 6.5 by 7.25 piece of crushed curry, and on the 6.5-inch side I've scored it at 1.25 and 5.25. On the 7.25-inch side, 3 and 4 1/4. And then we're going to fold and burnish on all of those score lines. This is a really easy box to put together and a generous size for lots of treats, and it can even hold a little gift. So now I'm just going to trim up on those 2 center score lines up to that long intersecting score, and then we can assemble the box. So I'm going to fold the 2 little tabs in, pull up one side, and then the other to adhere. And I just have to put adhesive on those 2 tabs, and then that shaped box is going to be ready to go. I'm trying to match up the tops there and the fold on the other side, and there you can see it's ready. Now for the handle, it's a 6 by 1 piece, and you can see I took my bone folder just to kind of break up the fibers to make it curve, and I put a little adhesive on each end on the right side to attach it to make the handle for the basket. So now if you want to decorate, you can add some designer paper, and that's just 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and it's going to I'm going to put it on the front and the back, and leave the sides just with the crushed curry for this project. You could also measure it out and do sides with designer paper as well. Now I have 2 circles die cut here from the Layering Circles dies. One is on basic white, and I'm using this front-facing bunny and stamping his head there with his little ears. I just try to get it where I can get as much of the bunny in the circle without cutting off his ears. So I'm coloring the bunny just very easily with polished pink, and I use Tahitian hide on his eyes. And then instead of coloring this one crumb cake, I'm using my Wink of Stella glitter brush to just give him some sparkle so that we can have a white bunny. So I'm trying not to go over the Memento Black too much so that I don't smear it. And then I can adhere it to this Tahitian tied scallop circle. We're going to set him aside and decorate the rest of our box. I have some punched flowers and leaves from the Flowers and Leaves punch in the annual catalog. And I'm going to just attach them to what I'm calling the front of the basket, just kind of bending the petals so that it looks more dimensional, and bending the leaves in half. And so now I'm going to position these, take a little bit of liquid glue, and put those on the front of the basket near the handle because I want to leave room for the bunny. So there's the polished pink, and then a smaller one in Tahitian tide. And now I just can put a little bit of glue behind the tip of one of the leaves and put it behind the one flower, and then repeat that again for the polished pink flower. Now all that's left is to put our bunny there, and we're going to center him and just tuck him underneath those little blossoms. And now we're ready for our sentiment. So I have a scrap of basic white, a scrap of Tahitian tide. I'm stamping the sentiment, an Easter treat for you, and I am going to fussy cut just around that sentiment with curved lines rather than straight lines, just to make it fun for the front of our little basket. Now after I've done the basic white with the sentiment, I glue it on the scrap of Tahitian tide, and I cut around that one as well, leaving a little border as I go, just following the shape of the basic white sentiment. Now as I look at my bunny, he's a little more to the right, so I'm going to put that on the left-hand side there, and there is our box ready to go. I hope you enjoy making these projects. Please give it a try. Thank you for joining me, and visit inkandinspirations.com for more ideas.